I think Egyptians make some of the best seafood in the entire world, and I'm not the only one.
If you love seafood, I'm gonna put this as one of my top seafood adventures ever, right here. This is it. In terms of flavor, in terms of value, in terms of variety.
I am actually so surprised by how delicious this is. And this is just one of so many dishes here. And we're right in the market. And you can just come right into the market and have some of the best seafood of your life.
And if that isn't proof enough, how about you try some? Today, I'm going to show you how to make a herby garlic prawn pasta that is packed full of incredible flavors. It's easy to make, and honestly, it's one of my favorite prawn dishes in the entire world. I'm sure you're going to love this. First up, you'll need some prawns. Fresh or frozen will do fine. These are the frozen tiger prawns I use, which are pretty good quality and need zero prep. All I need to do is defrost them. So just pour out 500 grams of prawns into a bowl and fill it with cold water so they can defrost. The size I'm using is 21 to 25 prawns per pound, and since this recipe uses 500 grams, which is just over a pound, we should have about 24 pieces. Across 4 servings, that's 6 prawns each, so just use a smaller size of prawn if you want more. I'll set this aside to defrost and then do the prep. Since this recipe is Egyptian, we're going to go heavy on the garlic as it's one of Egypt's main flavours, and we need a whole head of it. So after peeling the cloves, I crushed them to make 35 grams of minced garlic. Then for the herbs, we're going to use both coriander and dill. We need about 40 grams of coriander, and we only want the leaves as the stems can get a bit woody. I pulled them from the stalks, but this is pretty slow to do. To make this a bit faster, I broke out my box grater and pulled the stalks through, which should strip off the leaves. This hack gets a 10 out of 10. Once I had a pile of leaves, I ran my knife through them a few times to chop them into small pieces. You need 20 grams of chopped coriander about this size, and then all you are left with is the dill. I chopped about 15 grams of dill into small pieces, and once I got to the stalks I got rid of them. After chopping, measure exactly 10 grams of chopped dill so you don't overpower the dish, and that's all of the prep done. By now your prawns will be defrosted, and if they are you can start seasoning them. But before you do that, check that they've been deveined and their backs look like this. If not, you need to clean them, otherwise it will ruin the dish. So to season these, I added 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of white pepper, or you can use black pepper if you don't have it, and then half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Then I just gave them a good mix with a spoon. Tiger prawns have sharp tails, so I wouldn't recommend mixing this by hand. And once they look like this, we're ready to start cooking. Place a heavy bottomed pan or pot on the stove and make sure it's large enough to make your sauce in. Set the heat to medium high and then add in 20 grams of butter. Let that melt for a few seconds and then add in the prawns to cook them. You could do this in batches if there's just too many for one go. I'm going to cook these for about 90 seconds per side. After spreading them out, I just let them sit until they turned orange, and then after that I flipped them over and allowed them to cook for 90 seconds more. Once they were orange all over, I pulled them out and set them aside. These don't have to be fully cooked right at this moment because we're still going to add them back into the sauce later on. Now before we put the sauce together, let's quickly get the pasta going. I added a load of salt to a pot of water and then heated that until it was boiling. You can use pretty much any pasta for this, so I'm using linguine, which works really well. Traditionally though, this is made with butterfly pasta, but I find linguine holds the sauce better. Add in 300 grams of pasta and then cook it following the instructions on the packet until it's al dente. While that's boiling, I started the sauce by adding 10 grams more butter to the same pan from before. I melted that over medium-low heat and then added in all of the minced garlic. I want to cook off the raw garlic flavour without browning the garlic, and that's only going to take about a minute. After that, I added in 600 ml of double cream, which is going to form the base of the sauce. I also added 200 ml of vegetable stock, which I made using a vegetable stock cube, though seafood stock is even better. And then I switched to a whisk and mixed this together slowly for a few minutes. The goal is to warm up the cream slowly so it doesn't split, which will take about 5 minutes of heating. While it is heating, I added some seasonings, which were half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and half a teaspoon of white pepper. Mix those in and then keep whisking the cream until it's heated. When you start to see steam, you can increase the temp slightly to medium. At some point, take a jug and steal about 100 ml of water from the pot the pasta is boiling in. This is going to look cloudy because it has absorbed starches from the pasta, and that starchy water is going to help the sauce stick to the pasta better. Add 100 ml of that water to the sauce, and then whisk that in and continue cooking the sauce so it can thicken and reduce down. That takes about 20 minutes after the first 5, so about 25 minutes of cooking overall. Once those first 5 minutes are over, remember to mix every 10 to 20 seconds. And then when your pasta has finished cooking, make sure to drain it off. You'll know the sauce is ready when it's thickened and it can coat the back of a spoon. Test it by swiping your finger through it, and if it doesn't run off the spoon, you're good to go. Turn the heat to low, and then I added the prawns back in to reheat. I gave them a brief mix and let them heat up for a couple of minutes, then I added the coriander and dill. I mixed those evenly so they're well spread, and then it's time to taste and adjust the herbs or seasonings. Once you're happy with the sauce, you can add in the drained pasta and then give that a mix to coat it in all of the delicious sauce. Keep in mind that the sauce will still thicken a bit more as you mix the pasta in, but that's pretty much it. You want to serve this pasta right away. I obviously was taking photos so the sauce thickened a bit too much, but with a little garnish, I think this plate still looks pretty good. This has been sitting for a while, but I am so excited to dig in. This is just incredible. It's packed full of so many savory flavors, and you can still taste the sweetness of the prawns, and it works so well with the herbs and the garlic. Honestly, this is a 10 out of 10. Everyone needs to try this.